I'm not cutting that.
No!
God damn it! Start recording now.
It didn't even look like you ate. Oh, you did.
Keep recording.
Okay. Making sure you put on that watch. That shit was about $40 damn.
Will, please record.
Huh? You gotta eat something tonight, so sorry.
What do you mean you gotta eat something? You're on your period. You don't usually eat. Do I need to go to McDonald's? Okay, well let me finish this podcast and I'll
It's gonna be a while, Lee.
McDonald's.
It's gonna be a while.
I mean, probably you can leave after Super
You
League.
done?
Yeah,
Let me have that water.
Will, please tell me you're recording.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
All right, boys, let's do this.
Fuck this hoe.
All right. So
Okay.
let's go ahead and kick things off.
You
Hey,
got
what's
the
up,
table pulled up.
Big Week 3 transfer special and catch-up podcast for the most part. Brazilian here as your host as usual. We got Rio alongside as a host and a new host for us this week, Lego Dog. In our panel today, we have Quad, we have Nas, we have Sham, Vape's in here too, just kind of being Vape. But with that, this is our second week in a row we got a week 2. So that's a great sign. Big things to come. Let's move on. Let's get in.
You forgot to mention Leak was here.
You coming to the stage, ladies and gentlemen. You know who it is.
How could I forget that?
No introductions needed.
No introductions needed for Leak. Trust me, the introduction is going to come at the beginning of this podcast, dear listeners.
Last and certainly least.
All right, let's kick things off. First place, Minnesota. Now, some of these notes and updates for the team as far as it's concerned are up to date, at least until tonight. Timestamp, it's Wednesday the 13th. Until all the results and stats are finalized, some of these might be a little bit out of sync, but we will try and give some updates as far as results from tonight going forward. Hey, Leak.
Yes.
Was that your, feedback?
No. What's
Whose
up?
feedback was that?
Not me. I'm not doing anything but sitting here. I'll mute.
Just make sure to mute your mic, if you're not talking. I forgot to mention that before we started.
No, just can you do the same, just in case?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to do that.
Bottom left. Are you on your phone or computer?
Phone.
In the
Bottom left corner, that
there's
little
a
microphone.
button.
Okay.
The pressure's on.
Please don't be a meat train. Please don't be a meat train.
Don't make me do a meat train where I had to draw a picture to it and then you end up hitting the wrong button.
That man came on my stream today hating because I cut his ass. Hating.
Quad, are you talking through a CV radio or some shit?
Don't worry, this is how he did the last podcast.
Quad, this is control tower. Can I get your bearings?
I'm not cutting any of this.
Okay, let's just move on.
Carry on.
All right. Minnesota United sit in first. Now, at the time of writing this, they were undefeated, but they did draw against PSG and Inter in the last 2 game days. But tonight, Wednesday the 13th, their first loss of the season came to the new definition of average team, at least as of now, Spurs, who we will get to them later and their definition of average, but finally no more PSG in that spot. Continuing on, at the time, only 11 goals allowed. Additions of Perfect Mode and Aztecas really strengthened that attack and that midfield and just the whole team. Chubbs, though, has gone the other way and has left the club. Now, there's been a lot of, for lack of a better term, drama going around the camp as far as Minnesota's recruiting strategies. Don't get me wrong, they are a fantastic team, but some people are a little concerned that they're bringing in a lot of good players just to sit the bench. Now, again, a lot of those players play together on a fairly regular basis, fairly consistently. And again, they've made it very abundantly clear that they don't practice. So they show up for games. So to be in this position that they're at is very good. But again, we've seen it before where a team has choked the title. Maybe they can prove us wrong this time.
Well, if tonight proved anything, I think that the choke is highly possible if teams learn the strategy of attacking Minnesota. But that's if the teams learn the strategy of it.
Yeah, Cassie's big comment in the Discord post-match was that Spurs were one of the first teams that just put on a lot of pressure instead of sitting back. Obviously, I'm not trying to expose the strat for Minnesota, but because I'm sure
He-
they have their own counters for it.
he-
But
He put it in the Discord, so it's not exposing private information.
Yeah. But going forward, they're just a team that needs to understand that there will be teams in this league that like to press, and they just have to adapt to that. Again, part of the goals that were scored tonight were just kind of some unlucky bundles. I do feel a little bad for Kazra. The first goal he conceded was very unlucky, but we digress.
Will you stop stealing my shine for my own goal?
All right.
Moving on.
Moving on to second place Inter Milan. Now, at the moment, Super League table, Inter Milan still sit in second on 38 points. They did pick up a 5-2 loss to Juventus last week. I wouldn't say that's pick up, that's more of a drop. They dropped a 5-2 loss to Juventus last week. They've had some defensive struggles, and again tonight in the marquee matchup, those struggles were not, I guess, weren't compounded, but there was a little bit of an
there was
emphasis
glimpses of it.
There were glimpses. They were very calm in possession, but as soon as they were put under pressure, as soon as they were put down, they were down a goal, they kind of started panicking a little bit. Now, additions of old Mr. Peanut and Talentless are very good signings, but Peanut did pick up a red card before the marquee matchup tonight, so he couldn't play. And Talentless, while he had a great showing of passing the ball and movement off the ball, his composure in the final third, I wouldn't say his composure in the final third, but the situations he was put in the final third didn't really benefit his team. He did miss a goal after a great save from Khan, but I wouldn't really put that on him because in a lot of FIFA games, that's a rebound that goes in. So whether or not he's left-footed, right-footed, his weak foot, all that can be factored in. But I think Inter Milan are definitely a team that'll contest for, they'll stay top three at least if these signings that they've brought in strengthen the team like they'd want. Again, Peanut is on I believe it was a straight red, so he's on a 3-game suspension. But once he comes back, I think Inter can start clicking again.
Well, my whole thing with Inter is that they was a strong defensive side before the addition of Peanut. That's been their story since this Kufa has taken over this team. So they hold possession, they're very strong defensively. And granted, they've given up more goals than Minnesota have and some other teams. But nonetheless, they're still very strong defensively. And Strad and Kufa up top are really carrying them offensively. So I don't really see them falling down from top three, like Brazil said.
Now, at the time of writing these notes, Benfica were in 6th place, but after tonight, they've shot up into 3rd place. So the notes we had from Sunday were that they lost all 3 matches, so they were looking to bounce back. Now, I don't have the result. I have the standings. Let me pull up the results.
I got you. They was today the 13th. They beat Manchester City 2-0. They beat Lyon 1-0.
Lee, you want to shed a little light?
It would be don't listen to that. That's fake news. That's fake news. They got one lucky chance. And I think it came off a deflection and went into the goal. That was it. It was basically a 50-50 game. And like I said, they got one deflection. It was going back and forth, and they got a deflection, and it went in. So,
well, that's kind of like where me personally, I become iffy with Benfica about, because Sunday, as Brazil mentioned, they lost all 3 of their games. They lost 2-0 to Man United, 1-0 to Arsenal, and 2-1 to Minnesota, which two of those teams are in the top 4 right now. But even losing to a team like Arsenal, there's questions to be drawn. Like, we all know Chuck Norris is a really good striker, but is he not getting put in positions where he can be used to his best abilities enough, or is the defense just not holding strong? It's just glimpses of being good. These are the questions that I have concerns for.
Well, moving on next to Manchester United, who sit in can't count. All right, well, moving on to 4th place and to Manchester United. Now, the big revelation that unfolded. Now, we don't know the facts, but we have all the facts, but we have some inside information, at least speculation as well, about a string of poor performances in late night that led to a very quick decision by Magic to leave the team and join Manchester City, I believe, Man City,
yes.
In which he asked on the Discord if co-managers can buy themselves out, and then 5 minutes later he was on Manchester City. So I kind of want to get a feel from the panel and from the room about what you think about that. considering, do you think it was by way of, do you think it was an issue in the terms of their locker room mentality? Magic was in a position where he didn't feel his team was supporting him, or, I mean, I don't know enough about it to really, this is all speculation at this point. I guess the main question is, like, why do you think it happened?
My thoughts on it, I spent some part of this season with Man United, and the time I was there, Magic was playing Cam and left mid due to Bigod and Italiano playing up top. We don't know the full disclosure, but we all know Magic's personality and his mindset. I feel like he felt disrespected by getting moved back and letting Italiano play up top, and that's just. I don't want to say that that's just stacking too much talent on top of talent, but when you have a bunch of great talented players that all play the same position, somebody has to take the sacrifice and move into a different position, no matter what that player is. And at least from my opinion on this standpoint, I feel like Magic had enough of taking the back seat, but then you say he joins a team like Manchester City, in which I am still confused by because they have about 70,000 strikers on the team. So I get if that's the reason, I get the reason of his departure, but I don't get where he went.
Wow. Some big metaphor there. Well, I'd like to poll the rest of the room. Anyone else with any thoughts on the matter?
I just find it interesting how he just likes Manchester. I'm only in the city. But he
short commute times.
Yeah, he had a nice condo up there. So the toughest part wasn't leaving his team, but it was leaving the city.
I'd say
that you get to figure it out.
What was that, Nick?
Well, I was going to say before, not staying on that topic too long. From what I am told by people inside of United's campus, that he made no announcement of this. He didn't give fair warning or anything. He just did it and then left. So it was either a last minute decision or he didn't feel the need to inform B-God.
Well, we'll kind of see how this unfolds, whether or not this kind of becomes like a stain in his character in the league, or maybe it revitalizes his form. We're yet to see. But moving on from Manchester. Oh, sorry, you had a thought.
I said, but with that being said, even without Magic being there, Man United had a really good night in the league. They beat Roma 1-0, and then they beat Leverkusen 3-0. So Magic's presence was not needed tonight.
Yeah, and just one last thought before we move on. I guess now that you've brought that last point up, it does remind me of the circulating video that hit the Discord of the shouting match. I think maybe that might have improved the locker room per se. Maybe less clashing heads in the team as the games went on, but again, just speculation at this point. But I think now is a good time to segue onto our 5th place team, AC Milan, and we have Quad in here now. Quad, you guys were the underdogs of the season with the late promotion to the Super League, and you have made additions of Lewy, Slipkid, Ocular, and Rogers, but you also have lost Air Jesus, Vicenz, Meat Train, and Rogers. Now, Trance, you said you had a rough night tonight in league. You're still top 5. Do you have any, let's say, transfers you want to complete going forward, as well as your ambitions for the next few match days?
Sorry, what was that last part? You kind of cut out a little bit.
I did? Okay. You have the transfers that you kind of want to make as this transfer window goes on, but on top of that, what's kind of your plan for the next couple match days after a rough night tonight?
We just got to find our identity again. It was really hard with Chen's just up and quitting yesterday. He just said he doesn't enjoy PCN anymore. He was a solid figure for us. We had him on last season's team. He always held the spot of the DM. And I had to try to step in there tonight, and I didn't have the hottest of nights, but I wouldn't say we played terrible, so I'm not worried. I think it's just we need to practice more. It's just I had 3 new guys come in tonight basically, so just work on building for the rest of this season and hopefully make a push for next season. I mean, not saying that we're out this season, but being realistic, just want to get better as a unit.
Well, the rumor in the rumor mill is that you'll look at a specific DM that happens to be a dog.
That may be true.
Bingo!
Bango?
Bongo.
There we go. All right. Well, God damn it. Moving.
That's a legit thing nowadays.
I guess so. Again, going forward, you're a team that's got a lot of potential, and the transfer signings you can make in this window to kind of revitalize your team and push forward. I mean, I've played with your team a bit, smalls and full 11s. I think you have a very solid foundation to your team, and your team has a very good locker room mentality, which I respect a lot. Not every team in this league gets to say the same. So it's nice that you guys are able to kind of mesh and gel with each other. I think... Go ahead, Rio. I totally trailed off.
I was just going to ask Quad. So, Quad, what I want to know from you is that you have, as we saw from the announcement of the team of the week, you have two really good attackers in Chronic as striker and Vols at Cam / center mid / whatever he plays nowadays. But the question is that obviously you have three really good strikers up top with Smoke, Chronic, and Louis. But you added Slip Kid as well, who is a really good center back in this league, but he's known for being very, very loyal, like on the level of Realms loyalty. So my question to you, since this is the transfer special, how did you convince someone of that level of loyalty to leave mid-season, who is also, I might add to everybody, a known Juve supporter, and he is joining AC Milan? So how'd you pull this off, sir?
Well, it's good to have connections. I mean, him and Louis have played together from like Benfica to Atlanta to NYC, whatever they were, And I think Slip, at the end of the day, just wasn't very happy with what was going on with Kaz. I mean, Kaz is a great guy. It wasn't working out for Slip, and we couldn't really come to a transfer deal, so Slip just had to buy himself out because he wanted to play with us. The whole Juve thing, he really wasn't going to join because he's a Juve fan. I was like, dude, it's just an online video game. Like, it's not that biggie. Like, nobody's going to accuse you of not supporting Juve because you signed for AC Milan in FIFA. Like, and then he was just like, oh, okay, I'll come sign.
If only everyone was that sensible in this league, you'd think, right?
Yeah, right.
Nah, man, you gotta always stay loyal.
Well, speaking of loyalty, Leak, we get to touch on your team, who's surprised a lot of people. You guys are 6th place right now. It's one of your hotter starts after your League One promotion back, and I want to say you guys got promoted after Season 5?
Yeah, Season 5. My first season I joined.
One of the shockers of the season. You guys have just kind of like been consistently chugging along. It's your second featuring in a marquee matchup to a lot of support. A lot of people have been rooting for you guys. How have you guys, you talked a little bit about it in the post-match interview. That's back on the marquee matchup. If you haven't seen that, I'd recommend go watching it. It was a good game. A little Super Bowl-esque, but something I really want to ask you is just, what do you do to keep your core together? You have a very solid core that you've had for a few seasons now. Actually, a lot of those people since the beginning. Loyalty. How do you? What do you do as a manager to keep everyone so in sync like that?
Are you talking about with my current team?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so to keep everyone loyal and ready to go for each game, it was one podcast. I can't remember which one it was, but we remember Fuji and Gaza came to me and were like, "Did you hear what Rio said?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm in class. I don't know what you're talking about." They said, "Rio said we have no talent." And so I guess that sparked the entire flame in everybody on the team. And so we go out every game day and we try to win every game to the best of our ability. We try to make passes. We critique each other. If you made the wrong run, we'll tell you, you need to come back, come short next time, make the pass, and then make your run. So we're learning from each other, and I really like that this year with a team. Because over my previous seasons, we didn't really work as a team, as a unit. We just went on the game days expecting to see what happened. But this team, I'm really surprised as well, because I haven't had a team be so supportive of each other and ready to come out each game day, ready to fight for 3 points each game. So I'm really excited to see where we end up this season.
No. So. To piggyback off of Leak said, I believe it was the season preview, or it was the first edition of the podcast this season. I did say that Leon have a lack of talent compared to the rest of the league here. But with that being said, I also said, because people don't like to point things out, I also said that it can either be a curse or a blessing, because when you have a lack of talent as opposed to like a Minnesota who has a talent a top 5 player at that position at every position. You kind of have cocky mentality as to where, besides yourself, League, who everybody knows you as a striker, everybody else on your team, at least in your core starting 11, is on the unknown side of the league, which makes them, as you see by these results, play harder to prove the point that they're not, that they have no talent, that they are at top tier of that position that they play.
Man, Rio was sweating. I bet you he dug through the podcast and like tried to timestamp that shit. Man,
No, I mean, and that's the thing. We like people that criticize us. I understand where you're coming from, and it's a lot of people that criticize my team and the way I manage. But at the end of the day, we're getting points, and that no one really expected us to get points from. And I think it's pretty cool this season because I didn't go every season not giving a damn what we get. Just get frustrated and just call it a day. But this we come to practice every day ready to win something. It probably didn't show in the Royal Cup because we didn't care about that one. But my team, we're determined to try to win this League Cup and at least probably what are we 5 points behind second place, 6 or 7 points behind second place. So you're
actually only 4 points behind second.
Oh wow! So hey, we're trying. We're trying our best this season. So we just want to see where we can go.
And see, that's one of the things, Brazil, that like whenever you hear a team talk about it, like we all know that Leak and his team practices a lot. Like they play FIFA. That's what they do. But a lot of people, especially on the top side of the league, they play FIFA to play in the leagues. They don't really practice. They don't play together. They just play in the games, as we mentioned at Minnesota FC. They don't practice. They just show up and play the games.
Same with that pesky 11th place team. Wouldn't be us though.
Wouldn't be them. But you have a team that don't have that many well-known. They show up every single day, like League said. They practice. They know what they're going to do. They know when to do it, how to do it. They know each other better than the other team knows them. And that's essentially what practice is for, no matter what the game or the sport is. It's to get better as a team. But, people have their opinions about that. But as you can see by the results, it's probably needed.
Yeah, I think bouncing off that, it's kind of clearly like a team like Leon, they all got a chip on their shoulder. And they all got something to prove. Some other teams, they feel like they're all established players in this league, so they don't practice, they don't come to every game, like playing for their lives. But when people talk about Leon, say they don't have a lot of talent, it really gives them all something to prove. And they've definitely been proving that they're better than a lot of people thought.
Speaking of a team that might not be as good as people thought,
Manchester City.
So, before Brazil starts, addition of, as we mentioned, Magic Man and the return of Unix, along with the departure of Edgar Ramos.
Well, tonight they did pick up a win against AC Milan, but did also lose to Benfica in the league. It was a 3-point night for them tonight. It leaves them sitting in 7th place on 33 points, 1 point behind Lyon, and 2 points outside of the top 5. Their record's holding pretty well. Their signings they've added have been good. Their goal difference is great. Plus 13 is one of the better. It's actually one of the best goal differences outside of the top 5. It is the best goal difference outside of the top 5. But
put that with an asterisk because their goal difference is amazing because they score a lot of goals, but they also concede just as many as they score. Because 28 goals against is the worst in the top 13.
Top 12. 13th is the next worst. They're joint tied with Juventus for the most goals conceded in the top 12. So yeah, their defense is something that does look like it might need a little bit of work going, but someone that's been a standout on that team once again has been the late great Dorsey Firkle. I said late great like he's dead. Dorsey Firkle. Dorsey, it's his second time now in Team of the Week, which we'll touch on a little later, but he's returned to form. He's having a good season.
And
Dorsey,
also as well, with, I believe, the last king moving houses is the reason why he hasn't been playing as much. CF Pete has made a return to playing PCN. Anybody remember those days?
Oh, that's a long time ago.
And he's been, I believe he is the second top goal scorer in the whole. So I don't know how many games he's played, but he is shining.
Well, moving on to the next team, and hey, dude, it finally happened. PSG, dude, they're in 8th. So PSG have been moving up the table. They've been playing pretty well. Tonight, as far as results go, they took a dub against Bayern Munich, and they did get a home walkover against Schalke. But let's not take away from the fact that PSG, as per usual, had been the trope mid-table average side in the league. But they've stepped it up. They're sitting on 10 wins, 3 draws, 7 losses, which is better than they had been doing. 32 goals for, 23 against. Again, they've been scoring a lot but conceding a lot. They only have a goal difference of 9, but they're also tied on points with Man City on 33. They're 2 points outside the top 5, and that's a lot better than they have been doing in recent seasons. So it's good to see that upswing after, I guess, in a similar sense to Lyon, that chip on their shoulder of hearing, hey, like we've got this almost like stigma against us about being this relatively average side, and so they've got this chip on their shoulder to. And keep in mind, they have some very established players in that team, such as Stay High Play, Lupe, the list goes on. But I think it's the start of something better for PSG, and I feel like they deserve it after a really long spell of not living up to what they felt they were capable.
Yeah, they did have the addition of Mapes, who made the Team of the Week this week outside mid, and the addition of the formerly mentioned Edgar Leva Ramos from Man City. So adding pieces to their team that are clearly helping their results.
All right, moving. Oh, sorry. Of course. All right, moving on to 9th place, we've got a little bit of meat. So NYCFC, they haven't really done a lot of transfer work, but their team has been in pretty good form as far as it's concerned. As far as results went, tonight they picked up. Of course, I can't find it. They did lose to New York City. Of course, they're New York City. Cut that. Sorry, I'm having a mental lapse. Why do I only see the result against freaking?
It's okay. Take your time.
Yeah, apparently I need to. I only see the game against Juve. Did they only play one? Did they reschedule?
No, I have it. Okay, I'm just gonna cut that and then.
No, yeah, that's what I was saying. Cut that. But like, did they have to reschedule because they only played 19?
Okay, so they played. No, they got the default against Schalke because Schalke.
Okay. So PSG. Okay. All right, I'll restart that. Now, moving on to meat. NYCFC sit in 9th place currently. They lost to Juventus tonight, but picked up a walkover against Schalke. Schalke kind of had a rough night tonight, 2 defaults in the league. They are sitting on a pretty good run of form. 31 points isn't bad at this stage in the season. They're, 3 points outside the top 6, 5 outside the top 4. It's a start that they were looking for as far as, their introduction to the PCN scene. They're definitely on one of the more quality sides in the league, as their results have shown. Their transfers haven't been really that much. They haven't retweaked their team much, but their most recent results, as per the writing of our notes from the prior Sunday, they picked up a 2-0 win over Spurs and River Plate. So they're a team that's in. Juve were a hiccup, I would say. I think they continue their good form and keep surging. But again, that's my speculation. I'm open to suggestions. That means y'all.
Yeah. I played NYC at the beginning of the season, and they was definitely in a slump, like adjusting to PCM, but they've since then, as you can see by the results, they've definitely figured it out. So I would expect to see them like in this position, like high mid-table.
Boy, like
what
is wrong with y'all? Do I need to yell?
8 points.
8 points?
8 wins. 5 draws, 7 losses. 32 games. Oh my god.
Brazil.
32 goals for 28 goals conceded. Plus 4 goal difference, 29 points.
Not cutting none of this out.
There you go. You got
Feel
it.
free to keep it in. I'm just mentally lapsing. Okay. 29 points is not necessarily a bad place for them to be, although they would like to be higher. Tottenham, that's us. That's my team. We're sitting in 11th place now. I think we might be dethroning PSG as the new definition of average.
We have a rival a little bit further down.
But they don't have a +0 goal difference.
Yes, they do.
Oh, I was looking at River Plate. Okay, never mind. So 27 goals for, 27 against in 20 games. It's not great, not awful. We're sitting on 28 points. Although we did beat Minnesota tonight. Again, it was discussed earlier. Part of it was just, for the lack of better phrase, the pressure that was applied. Because, Tottenham loves to put on the pressure. Will. Moving on to 12th, River Plate.
Damn.
I almost said 19 games.
Wow, you didn't even give me a chance to talk about the team, Brazil. I'm hurt.
All right, go for it. What you got?
It's looking good, Unfortunately, didn't have to start the season. Everything's trending. All we had to do is move Will out of defense. Things started moving me up top. Easy peasy lemon squeeze. Yeah.
I agree.
And I'm the greatest player in the world.
Yeah, I disagree. Yeah, you should have never even put
Let's
him
talk
there.
about how great. Hold on. Can we take a moment to talk about how great I am? Come on. I'll let you guys begin. Brazil, I'll start with you.
Shut up.
God, I hate you so much.
Moving on. 12th place, River Plate. 19 games played. 7 games. 1, 6 drawn, 6 lost. 24 goals scored, 19 against, 5 goal difference. They're doing all right. The other team that's contesting the definition of average, however, is...
Before we leave River Plate, we have to make the announcement that there has been a manager change once again this season.
Rip Tranny.
No more of Thontron managing in PCN. The era has came to a close.
Bro, what happened with them? They went from being a great team to like disappearing. Like what's going on?
They all went to Minnesota.
When you lose the greatness that is old Mr. Peanut.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like, every time we go up against them, they beat us 2-0. I mean, they still got great players. It's just like it doesn't seem in the league they want to play anymore.
So Dontron stepped down as manager. He gave it to Alex 5, not the Venezuela. He gave it to the Guatemalan, also known as PX Dybala.
The fake
guard. And I don't really know what to expect from him as a manager. He's gave away half the team. So it's going to be a whole new team, it looks like. So what to expect?
Well, I guess going into our next podcast, we'll definitely have a little more answers for you, trending based on how they do on Sunday and Wednesday night upcoming. 13th place, though, the drop in form that is Bayer Leverkusen. They are the rival for Spurs as the new definition of average. They also have a 0 goal difference. 8 games won, 9 lost, 27 points. Not the hottest turn for them. Their results tonight were... I hate when my computer's slow. They lost to Manchester United 3-0. Just cut that fucking moron. I'm an idiot.
Unlucky.
It took me way too long to like switch tabs.
Did they not lose to Man United?
No, they did. But like, I'm just an idiot and was spending way too much time trying to scroll and find it. It was like dead air that I didn't want.
Well, they beat Lazio 1-0 tonight. They lost to Man United 3-0 tonight, and they did beat Borussia Dortmund 3-0 in the cup tonight. So, as you can see by the team of the week, with their starting Cam and striker making it, it's not scoring goals that is a problem. I mean, their Cam has 9 goals and 1 assist, so scoring goals is not a problem for them. But it just looks like for every goal they score, they concede another.
Wow, it's almost like they have a 0 goal difference.
Yeah, tell me about it, right?
But yeah, it's like you said, that attack is clicking. I mean, 13th place, but 36 goals for is definitely the highest in that category by a stretch, actually. The only team that outdoes them is 7th place Manchester City, and even Lyon only have 23 for. So as far as teams that aren't in the top section, Leverkusen have a very solid attack. I'm assuming they've got some plans for maybe defensive upgrades in the transfer window. but that remains to be seen.
They did add the formerly co-manager of Lazio, Saul Goodman Jr. They added Bellerin, and they also added Z-Jig, who's not a defender, but he's an addition.
Bellerin unretired again?
Bellerin unretired after he retired because that's the trend of people.
We're all Brett Favre. All right, moving on
Wouldn't
to
be me.
All right, we'll just kind of run down the table. Not so much in depth. We're trying to speed it along now as we reach the lower end. We'll talk a little bit about the transfers, however, though. Arsenal sitting in 14th place. Rio, do you know if they've looked to strengthen their team in any specific regards?
West Coast, same coast. No additions.
West Coast, same coast. That's what I figured. Lazio, on the other hand, have been looking around. In fact, our good friend in here, Lego Dog, has been approached by them as well as a few other teams, as a matter of fact. But Lazio have been on the search for a few more players as they sit 15th. They're not, their standings don't give them the credit I think they deserve as a team. I think as a team they're pretty solid. They have some core players in the midfield, some core players in the attack that really help strengthen their team. But yeah, I think they just really need to kind of diversify their team, get a little more depth, and just solidify their defense part.
Okay, I just thought of this because I remember the Sham is in here. So if this comes across offensive, I'm sorry, but I gotta say this. Because of the whole debacle that was Lazio in the Discord the other day, you reached the desperate point of Ace as manager when you're taking players from Santos to add to your roster.
Well, that's your first place of recruiting. You know something's going wrong at your club. I'll fully admit it.
What, Santos OP? Bring back Teen Scott.
All right. 16th place, Roma. Rio, do you know about their transfer upgrades?
Same Roma, same Roma.
Same Roma. 17th, Atlanta. Same, I guess. Stop asking. Yeah.
Atlanta United is now Fight Club FC.
Oh, really?
They have added.
Interesting.
They have added Chubbs, Eddie, Dino, Z King. The list goes on and on.
Well, that looks like it might help save their season because they are 3 points above relegation right now and quite struggling. They definitely need.
Remember when they was in second?
Oh, how times change. A lot of people treat early season results like people treat early season results like they're definite, but this league is very fluid.
Speaking of a team that might survive yet again.
Young Boys, after being bottom of the table for the longest time, it felt like, they're now up into 18th. So as far as their transfer upgrades go, there's some appeal to go there now to try and save the season. People that are fans of the Young Boys team and the legacy they've already kind of left on the PCN scene.
I know they have also been approached, or they have also approached a certain Lego Dog.
Yeah,
but,
that's a common theme, it seems like.
But they did have, for their standards, they did have a good night tonight. They drew Atlanta United 2-2 and then some Minnesota United 2-0. But they did have the additions of Cafetero, but they are looking to move some, I guess you could say, key players in Wayne and the Killer Albino. But they're looking to bring in some more people as well. Yes, it is. Speaking of Bayern Munich, Brazil.
My mic was on mute. Bayern Munich sit in 19th place. Also, they're sitting on 13 points. They're 2 behind Young Boys and 5 behind Atlanta. So they're not completely out of the picture as far as escaping relegation. And Ricky has dropped his grace in the Discord of, well, I would say grace, but he wants to ban whoever gets Bayern relegated.
Is it that serious?
I mean, Bayern have a history in PCN. It would be a shame to see them go down.
I do know, Brazil, they haven't made any moves as of yet, but I've been in talks with Graphics, their co-manager, and he said to look out for them during this window because they have big plans in mind.
That's interesting to hear. I'm excited to see what they got. Honestly, this whole transfer favorite parts of the PCN season, just because you really kind of learn a lot about the teams and what they're willing to do to get results, especially depending on, for top teams to bring in starting level players is one thing, but I don't know, it's just difficult I just lost my train of thought. I am so tired. I'm off.
soldier through the League One, and I got you with the hard
You
carry.
got, you got one more team to go through.
Yeah.
We already established the transfer special was going to be a long one.
We're talking a lot about each team. That's the thing, too.
That's what okay, honestly, after like NYCFC, I wanted to try and start speeding through them, but we just had this is the transfer special. We just have so much to talk about at this point. It's kind of hard to only short sight each team. Okay.
Yeah. And also once we get to League 1 and League 2, there's not that many transfers, so you can kind of go by faster.
All right. Transfers out of League 1, maybe. Okay. Anyways, let's. So
Moving
should I
on.
just should I just restart that Bayern Munich bit?
No.
No. Okay. All right. Well, I just didn't know. You know. All right. I'll just move on to Schalke. I feel like Rio knows what to do at this point. All right. And finally, bottom of the table, Schalke. Now they had a really rough night tonight. They had 2 walkovers. I don't exactly know what's going on in their camp. You would assume that, given the fact that they had 2 walkovers, I'm assuming they didn't have enough players on, or people not content with the team. So I'm sure they're looking to complete moves and transfer to try and at least start turning their form around. They only have 1 win in 19 games.
I do know the manager, and the manager is quitting on the team. He's very active in the Discord looking for players, so I think it was just a lack of players.
All right, and with that being... Go ahead.
I was just saying they've been very good at losing so far.
Jeez. All right, I think, and with that being said, I'll go over some stat leaders quick before panning it over to League 1. Just talking a little about goals. Pete on 17, Chronic on 16. Top of that list is Conflict Stacks with 18. Chronic actually leading assists as well with 10. Wait, by the way, are these up to date?
These are up to date as before the games tonight.
Fuck. I'll restart and preface that. Moving on to stat leaders before we get into League 1. Now to preface, this is before, again, tonight, timestamp 213. This is the stats before tonight's matches. Conflict Stacks was leading on 18 goals, Pete with 17 and Chronic with 16. Chronic with
Salax.
Yes, that is correct. I'm, again, illiterate. Chronic with 10 assists, Swifty with 9, Liverpool Madkev also with 9. Defensive tackles, Dorsey running away with it with 65, Rambo in second with 54, and then Pavard with 45. Some big separation between those defensive tackles. Keeper saves, Epic Fonzie 102. I'm sweating a little. Feels like he might break my record this season.
He's coming for the record.
He really is. WC Milo on 86 and Jeepers on 81.
Now, I just want to say, sorry to cut you off, Brazil. I just wanted to say while I was doing this that so those 3, one as 100 and the others are at mid 80s. The 4th goalkeeper with the most saves is only at 60. So these 3 have been put through hell for say 20 games.
I mean, 20 games and 102 saves is pretty crazy. Well, I mean, 18. We're about to find out how we did tonight.
Jesus Christ, are you serious?
I mean, Leak. Yeah, it's intense. I think Fonzie's young boys keeper, so he's been put to the test. He's been getting put to the test.
Boys. Milo is Arsenal and Jeepers is Atlanta.
Yes. God. So 3 keepers on teams that may not necessarily have the strongest defenses, but I absolutely have to say, as a fellow goalkeeper, I have mad respect for the work that they're putting in to keep their teams at least try and keep their teams in the fight when they can. It's a hard job, especially in this FIFA. Though those save stats are unreal. All right, and just like that, I think it's about time for League 1.
And we finally have a new host for League 1, so Brazil can stop messing up shit.
Yeah, League 1, League 4 have a lot of personalities, definitely, and this season has been no different. Starting off the League 1 table, though, we have Chelsea, where if you look only at the goal difference, you'd think that this league is a one-horse race. But, in fact, only 3 points up on Lille. 44 goals for, the only 8 against for Chelsea so far.
8 goals in 18 games. That is ridiculous.
It is. The more ridiculous thing for me is how they have such a slim hold on that league title, despite looking at their goals for and against, like being the class of this league, in their recent results, they've gotten wins against every team. Their last not win, weird way of saying it though, was a draw against Dortmund. That was back on February 6th, today being the 13th. So they've been very nice form. Definitely front runner of the league this season. And moving down the table, entering today's games, we had America, who was first, but they've dropped to third. So now we have Lille sitting in second. Recently promoted from League 2 last season. They've been very solid as well. They lost 2-0 to Real a few matches ago and drew to Dortmund. Sorry. Similar to
they
Chelsea.
drew to Dortmund.
Drew to Dortmund. Yeah, Borussia Dortmund just shorted to Dortmund.
Well,
Bravo.
Well, I mean, sorry to cut you off, Lego, but as you'll get to when you talk about Borussia standings and their goals for and against, Dortmund is not that bad of a nickname.
You forced that one so hard.
Their games are definitely the Super Bowl very-esque.
Yeah, we'll get to Dortmund a little bit later, but yeah, they don't play an electric style of football. But Lille, they've been very nice. They've been showing that League 1 season was not a fluke. Galo Bravo continues to impress. I want to say he won League 2 Player of the Season last season, and he's been racking up Team of the Week so far this season. They also beat Chelsea in the League Cup. Well, not a league game. It's kind of interesting in winning against the league leaders. You wonder if they can turn that into some results when they play against Chelsea in the actual league. Moving down, we have the former league leaders, now sitting in third, America, with 39 points, 1 game back from Lille and 4 back from Chelsea. They've been struggling a little bit lately. Their defense coming into today, they allowed 10 goals in their past 6 games, and they allowed 8 in the 12 before that. So they definitely had a lot of struggles there. But they're still in third. They can bring this season back still. They recently lost to Galatasaray. And looking at their results today, they dropped points to Chelsea in a 1-0 loss.
Well, Brazil, you was there. Like it seems to be a trend with the podcast. If you come on the podcast and you talk about how you're undefeated, you kind of go into a rut afterwards. It happened with River Plate last season, and America said their mission was to stay undefeated, and now they're picking up losses.
Yeah, they're definitely not undefeated. 3 losses on the season. They did add Bachelor recently.
Very good goal scorer.
Very good goal scorer indeed.
And graphic designer.
Very true. We'll see if he's able to help turn their fortunes. The offense hasn't always been the problem, though. I'm curious to see if their defense will be able to pick it back up. Definitely
to touch on that podcast trope real quick. The thing that I kind of noticed about that is, in a similar vein to what Leek had said in the opposite of that scenario, when we talked about a team that we didn't think would do as well. When teams come into the podcast and say, we think we'll do this well, I feel like that almost puts a target on their back for the others that listen and see that and say, well, we play them next, so let's dethrone that. Let's take that out the equation. So it's always a fine line to walk when you come onto the podcast if you're one of those top teams.
Definitely. I wonder if they're getting a little bit cocky here, or they got a little bit cocky after starting the season off very hot. Definitely cooled down. If they want to win the league, they're going to have to pick it back up. Moving down below them, we have Galatasaray, who did pick up a huge 4-2 win against aforementioned America. They've been very solid this season. I'm pretty sure they're the League 2 winners of last season, if I'm correct. Anyone can confirm?
That was Olympiacos.
Olympiacos, wrong team. They were won the playoff, though, right? Yeah.
Genk won the playoff.
0 for 2.
0 for 2.
Back straight.
Damn. Yeah, cut that out. Nah, but this season, though, yeah, they got that big win against America, but they've also lost recently to Genk and drew against Monaco. Or they lost to Genk, drew against Monaco. They drew against Barca and Leipzig. So they got a result against a top team in America, but they've occasionally struggled to play against lower teams in the table. Even today, a no draw against Orlando, which I might know something about. But I think their problem so far is just not playing down to their opponents, making sure they're getting results against lower teams in the table. And moving down from there, we have Real Madrid, who is second in goal difference this season, but sitting fifth in the table, not where they want to be. But Panic's team has definitely had a lot of goals so far this season. They had a little bit of a rough patch recently, but it looks like they've been recovering well. They lost to Chelsea and America, which are two of the top three teams. But they've been winning. They got a win against Lille, the second team. So results against the top team of the table. But overall, they've been doing well and winning the games they're supposed to win. Just haven't been getting those big wins against teams that are higher up in the table. Then moving down to sixth, we have quite possibly the most exciting team in League One. 19 goals for, 9 against. Dortmund. Their defense has been amazing, but they've definitely been playing a little bit of that Super Bowl football. Just not a very exciting brand to watch. All right, so they've allowed 4 goals in one of their games. So even more impressive than just allowing 9 goals on the season. In 16 of their games, they've allowed only 5, with just one blip coming against Orlando, where they let up 4. But I think a case can be made that they definitely have probably the best defense in League One. It's just a lot of questions could be posed for the offensive side of the ball. This team.
Them and Chelsea are really strong defensively.
I think what separates two, though, is Chelsea has very
Really
strong offensively.
You know your offense is good when you got Messinho playing center back.
Yeah, but Dortmund, they've gotten draws against top teams. They haven't recently drew Chelsea and Lille, both of those 0-0 draws, which has been a staple result for them. I think if they can score more goals, they can definitely compete for a title. But it's a lot easier said than done to just put the ball in the back of the net. So I'd be curious if this transfer window they try to add a striker, or if they think that they got the right guys on that team right now. And then moving down the table, we have a bit more separation between teams starting here. Liverpool 4 points back from Dortmund. Liverpool once a very promising League One side, but they seem to, as of recent seasons, just kind of been hanging around that. Just not as good as they used to be. I think it's still ran by Rowdy, if I'm not sure.
Yes, all the way back to season 6.
Yeah, have not been having the type of season they've wanted. This last match day, they only got 1 point, losing 3-0 to America and drawing Pirates. Definitely not been doing as well as they would have hoped. But Champagne, I think he's the DM. He's been absolutely stellar so far this season, both offensively and defensively. That's a big reason why they're in the spot that they are. And then going down from there, we have, going near the mid-table, 4 points back from Liverpool, we got Genk, who have just kind of been average this season, not doing anything great. They had a 7-0 win against Barca, but Barca's sitting in 14th, so that's not really most impressive of results. They've just kind of been hanging around that mid-table. Haven't gotten too many huge wins. One of the biggest wins, probably to Galatasaray, 2-0 win. But lost 2-0 to Dortmund. They haven't been able to get many results against top teams in the table, which they will need to do if they want to move up.
Brazil, that awkward moment where the next team is the host's team, but we have a League One definition of average team. It has happened.
Yep. Very true. Staying in ninth is Orlando, a 0 goal difference. So one could say that they're the definition of average. Getting just over a point per game here. Orlando taking a little bit of a hint from Dortmund on their last match day. getting two scoreless draws. But the interesting thing there is they've had a manager change recently with That Cream Cheese stepping down and Cushmaster being promoted to manager just a couple days after he was released from the team. And a really surprising turn of events.
What a great gamer tag. Cushmaster.
I would agree. But I think that's one of the very few times I've seen someone take over a club 2 days after getting released from the club.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever seen it happen.
Very interesting turn of events there.
Very interesting turn of events, yes, I would agree. And speaking about the transfer window, this transfer podcast, they've had a decent bit of news regarding transfers lately. Some people wanting out. Lord King, who was a brilliant striker for them for the time he was there, he's going down to League 2. So, gotta wonder if that's gonna be a big hurt for them on offense.
And that Lego dog guy. God, what a piece of crap player.
Yeah, that Lego dog guy. I don't know much about him. Seems like he may be wearing out too. I don't know. Keep our eyes posted there. Don't know where he's gonna go yet, but there's some other guests on this podcast who may have influence on that.
I just realized this panel is just who wants to sign Lego dog.
Yeah, we really picked like a very unlucky panel for the transfer special.
Like everybody here except Nos has had some type of contact with Lego.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, bit of an awkward situation bringing up my transfer. I don't know how to really approach that. Not gonna lie. But
moving on,
we have Monaco, who started season off scoring a lot of goals, and they kind of forgot how to score a lot of goals. Their goals forward not keeping on with their early season pace.
Boy, you a clown.
I'm just speaking what I see. They're currently 1 point back from Atlanta with 20 points. 31 goals for 30 against. They're kind of hanging in that definition of average range of teams here. But they do have a very spectacular striker. Don't know how he prefers this gamer tag being said, RGNTNO, but he has been definitely one of the best strikers in League One so far this season, leading the league in goals despite playing for.
I believe Sham might be able to correct me. He's a former Santos player, am I right? Or is he a Gank player? I think he was a Gank player.
RG used to be my striking partner beginning of the season.
So bet you miss him there.
Yeah, I'm glad to see him.
bit of an unfortunate departure there for Sham and Santos. Moving down, we have Napoli. I'm managed by AJ, but under current management for I think the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, they had so Napoli was the new Olympiacos that won League 2 last year. They had some inner club fighting, and they had a manager change. They had a completely new guy take over. Runs a clan of some sorts in the divisions. Not really aware of them, but
QC clan, 6 of the guys with gamer tags QC. Yeah, this season has not started as they wanted. Not getting the best of results. Only staying 1 point behind Pirates, though, but 13 points behind promotion. This season has 12 games left, so it's going to be very hard for them to make a push forward.
But they are very far clear of relegation.
That is very true. Moving closer to relegation, we have Olympiacos, former League 2 champs, definitely not going to be League 1 champs, unfortunately for them. The recent results have not been encouraging. They did get a 4-1 win against Madrid, but that might not be the most brag-worthy win, given Madrid's form. 18 goals for, and then double that against with 36. Just have not been solid, but 1 spot below them on the table, sitting with 13 points. Clear of relegation on goal difference, and they do have a healthy cushion there. Santos, we have Sham here. Sham, how do you feel about Santos' display so far this season?
I think since the last time I was on the podcast, we've definitely had a lot of in and outs of the locker room. I think the biggest problem has been we've had a few more people willing to trial now that we've gotten some things cleared up, but they're the type of people that will join for a game, will lose, and then they instantly want to be released. So that's definitely been a setback with our players, but we've lost every single game since then, and they've been very winnable games, especially like tonight. We against LOSC, we hit the post 2 times, and that was literally the difference between us winning and losing. So I think we're getting closer to where I want us to be, but we're still not quite there. Still missing a few key players that could fill in the gaps.
And also, not to backtrack this much, but just 2 things I wanted to point out from the Olympiacos side that I've been informed of. Olympiacos, Brazil, and League, we just watched Inter play in the marquee matchup. Olympiacos is Inter B. That is their second team, as they like to call it. And as well, one of their players, I believe their co-manager, has mentioned in the Discord, he is willing to pay people up to $100 to join their team. So, if you need a team, hit up Olympiacos.
Yeah, it looks like a big money move. Yeah, but talking about Santos, I've seen you guys very active in the transfer window. It looks like you're trying hard to sign players. I know it's difficult being near the bottom of League One. It's hard to convince players to come for a team that might not have the best chance of promotion.
Yeah, and with being a first-time manager, it makes it even harder too. So it's definitely not ideal, but we're getting there. Had some players that we just sold out, so we've got a little bit more money in the transfer window. Hopefully, pick up a new CDM and some other players. Lego.
Is that specific CDM just so happened to be Lego?
Sign Lego. My boy Leon will be a good CDM for you.
Yeah.
Lego to Santos confirmed.
Yeah, a bit of an awkward podcast for me, having a few teams here with interests, I could say. Also other teams, but moving past Santos, tied for them in points, but down 15 goals on goal difference is Barcelona, who's given up 3 times as many goals as they've scored. And they have not really gotten too many results recently. They drew Galatasaray, which is a big result for them. They drew Olympiacos, but a lot of losing lately, and not many results, not many wins for Barcelona. Out of their past 8 or so games, I don't think they've notched a win besides a walkover against Leipzig. So
the Discord would lose its mind if Barcelona ends up in League 2.
It's crazy how PCN, the most popular clubs in real life, don't always become the best clubs in the league, as we're clearly seeing with Barcelona. Moving down from them is Leipzig, 2 points back from Barcelona and 2 points back from relegation. Currently, they have 1 player on their roster. Both their games were postponed today. So it's hard to say a lot about the current state of the team without just mentioning that there's going to be a lot of changes, obviously. They're definitely going to be a team to watch out for or look out for because you don't know much about who they're going to bring in yet with that new manager. You guys have any comments?
I know Perps has a good friend of his that is looking for a PCN team. I don't know if he would want to take over a team in this condition, but there's always good managers out there looking for teams. So we could see Leipzig have a turnaround as of Sunday.
I think the interesting thing also is if you go back a few seasons, Leipzig as a club, Jay actually managed that club in D1 halfway through the season when they were in similar position. He went unbeaten through the final 15 games or so, then moved to Orlando Pirates and won the league back in season 8. So, might be a good thing for aspiring managers to try taking over that club, doing well, and then getting moved up to Super League.
Speaking of flashback teams,
Atletico Madrid. Oh, yikes. That's one way to describe their season so far.
Just tragic.
Very tragic. Looking at their recent results, it seems to be a competition among teams they play. Who can score the most goals?
God.
In the Cup, Minnesota put up 13, Orlando put up 7, Chelsea put up 9, Leo put up 8.
So if I remember correctly, back in season 7, I want to say, or was season 6 when they got relegated from the Super League. A lot of people was disappointed because, like, Atletico Madrid's a really good club, and a lot of people support them. But it looks like they're only sitting on 4 points. It looks almost confirmed that they're going to go to League 2. So it's kind of depressing.
At this point, I'd book it, given just how poor they've been in every game they played. Like, looking at their recent results, their closest game was a 3-1 loss to Liverpool. That was back a week ago from recording today, being the 13th, so that was on the 6th. They lost 3-1 to Liverpool. When your closest game when your closest game is a 3-1 loss, that's not an encouraging sign.
And moving on to the league leaders, Lego.
Goals, aforementioned Monaco striker RGNTNO. 14 goals. Great gamer tag. I'd love to know how to pronounce it. If you tell me, I'd really appreciate that if you listen to the podcast. But 14 goals in 18 games. He's definitely been a driving force keeping Monaco afloat so far this season. Moving down from him, they've got 2 strikers tied at 13. Neo Micro for Chelsea with 13. He's been big for them. And JX The Dream with 13 for America, trying to help them keep their season afloat. And then another Chelsea striker, Chevy Boy 24 with 12. And I know he had a really big week this past week. One could say he was the best player in League One over the course of the past 8 match days. And then going down to assists, leading assists is Chevy Boy again, giving him 12 goals and 10 assists in the season, which is an absolutely insane amount of goal contributions. But surprisingly, that's only half of the goals for Chelsea, so they definitely got something going for them. Then a very famous attacking player who's also dabbled in defense this season. We have Massinho with 9 assists from Chelsea.
I really hope he's playing striker, because if he's got 9 assists from center back, I'm a little bit salty.
If he's got 9 assists from center back, I need to know what he's doing back there, because that would be an absolutely absurd total. But he has been playing center back, and that 9 assist total with just any games at CB is extremely impressive. Given most CBs struggle to get 9 assists in the whole season, he's done it in half. Then there's a big drop from the top 2 players in assists. 3 players tied at 6. We got DCEO from Monaco, feeding his aforementioned striker with the cool gamer tag.
Also a former Santos player.
It seems like leaving Santos leads to a lot of goals. Dixon has been great passing the ball for Lille with 6, and then Champagne has been stellar for Liverpool. DM racking up 6 assists, so he's been doing his work on both ends. Going on to defensive tackles, we have 4 players here from 2 teams. Top 2 tacklers in League One so far have been Ericon 606 and Champagne from Liverpool. They got 34 and 32 respectively. They've been definitely doing a lot of work for Liverpool side. Do you think that with such high tackle counts, they might have less than 20 goals allowed? But I think they've been huge for their side, probably only allowing that many goals. And then joining them are Harambe and Medic for Dortmund with 29 and 25 each. I know they're really good friends. I played with Medic a little bit, and he's a big fan of Harambe. And they've definitely had a lot of chemistry so far in Dortmund.
PCN all-timers right there.
Yeah, Medic's been here since, was he here one of the first seasons?
I believe so.
Yeah, he's I think he made a team of the year back in the day. So he's definitely got a lot of PCN experience, and Harambe with him as well. And then down to keeper saves, we got T-Bone for Lille with 74 saves, pace in the league. He's been huge for their defense so far, and a big reason why they're in second. And then going down from him, we have Big Girls Need Love for Liverpool, who, along with their DMs, has been great for them with 68 saves. Mythic Galaxy with 67 for Santos. Shem,
Santos gets some love.
They do. Shem, how's Galaxy been for you guys this season?
He's been a great goalkeeper. He's missed a few games from lagging out and other complications, but other than that, every time he's played, he's really held up in the back, especially since we haven't had a full back line. He's been doing well in there, making some saves to stop us from losing from much bigger numbers.
That's always important. If you can't get the best defensive goalkeeper, can definitely help you out a lot, as Brazilian knows from prior season's experience.
Keeper.
I was just saying,
No,
Brazil,
I'm saying,
you, yeah. And then 2 players tied for 4th with 60 saves each. Infred for Real Madrid and Apocryphian, very cool gamer tag, for Dortmund with 60 saves. Also a big part of their Iron Curtain back there. Leek, you play with Infred. How do you feel about him as a keeper? Oh, Leek's not here. Cut that out. Okay, then we can just ask him later then. But then moving on down to League 2, everyone's favorite league, of course. Let me just pull up the table right here.
Nazo, you're still here, right? For League 2?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool.
yeah, thanks for sitting through that, by the way. That was...
No, I enjoyed that. That's all good.
So, first place we have Valencia on 36 points. They only have 1 loss this season, but the race for the title is not over by a long shot. Second place we have Marseille, only 35 points. Goal difference is a bit shaky, 5 goals for the difference between first and second. But in third place, we have Nozzle's team and New York Red Bulls. 33 points. They're only 3 points off of first place. Nozzle, you're the second person from League 2 we had on this season. First guy happened to be on Marseille. Now we have you. What are your thoughts of League 2 this season, how your team's doing, and the other teams around the league?
Sure. So Marcel is definitely the team that practices the most. They probably deserve to win the title. Same with Valencia. But we just have the best players. That's what's getting us in this position right now. And, Marcel has a really good CDM, Harry Pickle, and a really good striker, Masonic Control. And then Valencia has a really good cam and a really good striker in Mamba, and as well as a good CB in King Lowy. Red Bulls, luckily, we just signed Medic, who's amazing. I'm looking forward to playing with him. And then we signed Goat Lost, the cam for Cartel, who's really killing it out wide in the middle for us. And we've always had, good players like Cody at right mid, a good goalkeeper as well.
Now, one thing that I would like... Ow. Is that fixed? Okay, thank God. No, one thing that I would like to ask you about, because I've mentioned this on previous podcasts, but I'm really interested by this. You guys have, now, Brazil, Lego, check this out. They have a 32 goal difference. They have scored 44 goals and have only conceded 12 in 17 matches.
It's not bad.
So, my question for you, Nas, is this a case of your defense being OP, or is this a case of your offense is just that good to where you can score 4 or 5 on every team?
No, the offense is good, but to be honest with you, all these goals are coming against shit teams. They can't score against the real teams, and the defense always holds up no matter what, because we have a really strong midfield, really strong. But they'll get it. Our striker's just really out of form right now. He's going through.
Okay, and moving on into 4th place, only 3 points behind the Red Bulls is PSV. Porto behind them on 29 points, Besiktas behind them on 22, so that's where the gap kind of falls off of the tier of the league from top 5. 7th place, Moscow on 22. They have been very active in the transfer window, so I want to say expect things from them.
Another team that has approached Lego Dog, if I might add.
Yeah, every team's approaching Lego Dog. 8th place, Fenerbahce down on 10 points. So this is where the gap between the mid-table and there is no relegation, but just the bottom of the barrel.
By the way, Will didn't want him, but that's no big deal.
9th place, Sporting. Will so confused.
You know you fucking heard me, bitch.
Hey, let's finish the podcast. Chill, bro.
Yeah, let's finish the podcast.
9th place, we have Sporting on 8 points. And 10th place, last place, Ajax, 3 points, no wins. But, as Lego mentioned, they do have the addition of Lord King from the Pirates. So,
Yeah. I mean, he's a Team of the Week quality player in League One. I had the pleasure of playing with him for a few games with the Pirates. He's definitely a great player. So I think that's a good addition to their team. I'd just be concerned if I were them because, signing a striker is good and all, but even the best strikers do need service. And I don't know too much about the Ajax team, but I'd be a little bit concerned about the service around him.
I played Ajax today. Lord King was getting no service, but no doubt he's an amazing player. I played like 500 matches with him. I credit him a lot for getting where I am today. So I hate him, but he's a really good player.
That's the story of my life. I hate people, but they're really good. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Transfer Special of the podcast. If you're still with us, I know this is really long. Trust me, we know. But we do this for you because we love you, even if you don't love us back. And with that being said, we will see you next week.